Hey, welcome to the table. So we're getting ready to get started here. The one thing I did offline is I recognized that the butts weren't set up yet, so I had to put out the towns and set up the manpower and everything there. Just a couple things to be real quick here. Um, you set it up like you would a normal game, and I know some of you might be like looking at this for the first time, and you're like, "Well, how do you set it up for a normal game?" Well, you take this card, you just do what it says. So state religion is Catholic. I mean, that's good to know. The provinces get set up, and what you do is you take these towns and you just place them on the map. These are large towns. These are small or regular. The large will have an L in parentheses. So, for example, Copenhagen and Lund both had large towns, and then the rest did not. And normally you have vassals, which I didn't even bother putting out here, but on a player board like mine, I have all these vassal tokens. And vassals are nations that are semi-independent, but they have loyalty and they answer to you. So they'll pay some taxes, They're basically I mean I hate to say it, but it's almost like you got the concept of a European Union and every nation is a vassal to it. I mean, although they're all equal members, whereas the vassal concept is you have a king authority and the vassals answer to the king. So I don't know if there's a situation similar to that in the real world right now. I mean, the Soviet Union was close to it. I mean, I guess you could say Iran is that way with how Palestine is a vassal to them. Although I would argue that they don't contribute anything other than just bodies and terrorism. But that's neither here. I didn't mean to get political. I was just trying to figure out like if there's a modern version of vassalism in the world. Probably a bad question to ask. Anyways, when you're setting up the cards, the concept of vassals is that the bots just own them. And for Muscovy, look at this. There's a lot of towns already on the board. If you're playing Muscovy as a player, it's actually really challenging because you have 4 vassals. And the only way you can annex them is to use a subjugate card. So the fact that the Moscow bot has just all these extra towns just added on for free, it's insane. So, sorry, I had to take a drink there. So it makes the bot a lot more powerful. So then once you put all the vassals on as towns, the influence is you just take cubes and you put them on the board, and it's real simple. For example, there's 2 cubes here in Oshlandet, and Trondelag has 1, etc., etc. And it's all written here. What you do, the alliances and marriage are these. So you put those on the board. So, for example, Sweden and Norway, it's the Kalmar Union. Denmark had Sweden and Norway. They had strong relationships between the 3. If anything, Denmark had them as vassals in the video game, which is interesting. They're not vassals here, probably for balance reasons. And then the merchants. Normally you start with 2 merchants, and for players that matters. But for the bots, they only use 1 merchant. So you put 1 out here in Lubeck. It really doesn't matter if you choose Lubeck or wherever the other location was. I think it was North Sea. They instantly teleport in this game. Whereas with the players, they don't instantly teleport. You can instantly teleport if you do a trade action yourself, but then it gets knocked over because it's used. Whereas for these guys, it's not like that. They just cheat. So that's another thing. And then the last piece is your military. It says that you have an army of 2 infantry in Jutland. What the bots do is they don't actually put it on the board. They keep their army off map. They do start with 2 infantry. They have 3 plus 2. They have 5 total manpower, so you represent that here. And so yeah, they still start with their 2, but it's just not on the board. And if there's more than one, I think France has more than one army at the start of the game. You only have one army as a bot. They never have more than one. And again, they don't need more than one. They instantly teleport everywhere. So it's sort of pointless. And then also, they do put light ships, which are trade ships, out on the map. But if they had a navy, which I don't know if anybody does start with a navy, but if they did, there would be no navy. Bots don't have navies. Now, don't confuse no navy with no trade ships, because they do have trade ships. And so that is something that, don't confuse the two. Okay, so now that we have all that done, we're set up, we're good to go. So I'm going to make sure that these are shuffled. We got to do player order. So per the rules, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and Moscow's 8. That's per the scenario rules. Now, if you're looking at the scenario booklet, the booklet only shows 6 players, with Austria being replaceable by Muscovy, and not both. The 7-player variant comes with the Defying Destiny expansion, and the 7th player pieces do as well. And it describes that you can keep Austria and have Muscovy in addition. It also describes that you can use Denmark instead of Muscovy. So you could have a 7-player game that way, or you could just ditch Austria and have Muscovy and Denmark. So what we did is we're keeping the original 6 and we added both. So, and like I said, if I had more tokens, and this guy said that he might be able to give me some, I would have added the Mamluks. And if I had one more, it gets a little tight, because you don't necessarily want to add Scotland and England. They mess with each other too much. And my apologies. I don't know what the slashes are through, but these are Denmark tokens, and they have an alliance and marriage with both of these. We're going to separate them out so I can see them. And if you go, again, I don't know what the difference is, but like that's how they normally look. So if that bothers you, you can always just take those off. Put in a marriage and alliance that way. I'm sure it means something, I just don't remember what it means. And it's something new with the Defying Destiny expansion, if anything. So anyways, let's not worry about it too much. So if you had a bot as Scotland and a bot as England, it creates problems, because some of what makes the England bot powerful is that they can annex Scotland. And a bot annexing another bot is near impossible. So those kind of things make it muddier. That's why having a bot for Portugal is doable, because they don't necessarily war with Spain, and they don't necessarily get annexed by Spain. They could get annexed by England, but it's still a remote. A bot for Morocco is very doable, and that was added in the Defying Destiny expansion, so we now have that. Like I said, the Mamluks are a great one to add. And actually, another one from Defying Destiny, that if you wanted to add another one, I think the Golden Horde, or they call it the Horde, which would be all these spots here. And it's really just, you're looking for empty spots on the map and fill it in. And then they should have room to grow. Now, why wouldn't I add Brandenburg or Saxony? I could. You just got to be careful, because when you get into HRE stuff, they're not necessarily going to be the HRE leader, first of all. And then secondly, the way if you start warring with each other, at least in a video game, it causes the value to go down. But let's not get too mired in the details. So to start the game, you begin with 1 of each card. This is an admin, a diplo, and a military. All right, so you start with one of each. And you have this leader. I have a 2-3-1 leader. The rest of this gobbledygook does not matter. I could, if it allowed me, I could just slide it under the board. Okay. The only thing that matters for me now is this. And these are my cubes. For me, the player, I have the concept of vassals, and I have power cubes, but they're divided into the 3 types: admin, diplo, and military. These cards have a cost on them. So if I were to play this card, I would have to pay 2 of my admin cubes to play that card. I'm going to get to draw 3 more cards. I'm allowed to draw them one at a time. I'm allowed to look at them before deciding to draw the next one. And that's true for every human player. I'm only allowed to keep 4. So 2 of these I either have to discard or use right away. And when I say use right away, you can't use them for their text. That can only be done when you're playing the game. What I mean by use right away is there's this ability here. So, for example, I actually like this guy. So he gives me a +2. The concept of sliding them under doesn't work. So again, you would slide it under your board so only this bottom part would be visible. But this is going to give me, it's an advisor, an administrative advisor that gives me +2 to my power. So when I collect income at the end of a round, I'm going to get 2 cubes for my administrative power from my leader. I'm going to get 2 more from my advisors for a total of 4 cubes are going to be added here. That's very good. The best number, by the way, you can get is a +4. I don't think I've seen anybody have a better than a +4. And +4s are very rare. A +3 is really good. And a 2 is very decent, and then a 1 is, better than nothing. So to play this card as an advisor, he has a cost, a fee, and his cost is 2 ducats. That's what's written right here. So by playing this card, I'm no longer going to use the text. These are multi-use cards. You use it for the text on the top, or you use it for what's on the bottom. Excuse me. So I don't have to make this decision yet, but right now that's what I want to do. And this one here, like I said, a +1 is serviceable, but right now I would probably want to play both of those, but I might get better ones. The problem is I'm very likely not going to choose another military card, although I probably should. One of the ways I can increase my imperial authority is to kick out these nations that are encroaching inside of the HRE. Denmark is actually one of them. So Holstein here, we could liberate Holstein. So those are all options for me. I haven't decided what to do yet, but I get to pick 3 cards. And the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is I'm very likely not going to pick a military card, although arguably I should, because I may plan to do some military actions soon. Now, with that said, I don't have a advisor for the middle yet, so I may want to draw a Diplo card. So that's one thing to consider. And then the admin cards are just really good. Now, the Diplo cards is where the Subjugate card is. And if you want to expand your empire peacefully, Subjugate cards are where it's at. So you need these to do that. Now, this Defying Destiny expansion added a Intimidate card. I think that's what it's called. And it's a military card where you can force people to give you land and territory through intimidation. And it's a military action. That's new with this expansion. So what am I going to do? I'm going to actually choose a Diplo. And remember, you get to choose them one at a time. So here's the card. And look at that. I got a Subjugate. This is a very coveted card. Everybody wants these. I'm going to choose another one because I'm looking for an advisor. and I got one. So Corfit's here. It's just a +1, but it's better than nothing. So I'm going to slide him in. So now I got 3 advisors, and I get one more card, and I'm going to choose an admin card. Not the best in the world. I can gain a cardinal. Now what I could do is swap him for this one. The problem is this is a +2 advisor. This is only a +1. So I'm going to choose to keep that. So by doing what I did, I have less than 4 cards. So I satisfied the requirement. And now I didn't talk about this one. So Margaret here is a person who could actually, and you'll see like the little sword here. Excuse me for a second. So what I could do is I could hire her to be like a general or an admiral. Forgive me for a second. She just looks weird. Yeah, normally see how it has a 1? That means you have to pay 1 military cube to play her as a general, and this one has a dash. So what that means is she can't be a military leader. I've never seen that before. This is one of the new cards, I believe. Maybe it is. But anyways, this here is actually, you have the most, you gain an alliance. This is not a horrible card to just play, but she can actually become your leader. So if our leader dies, so there is a concept of they're going to get sick and then eventually they're going to die. Everybody will. And it's based on the event cards, and I'll show you how that works in a second. So eventually, if your leader dies, if you don't have one of these in your hand to replace the leader, you have what's called interregnum, and it's nothing but bad. Like, you don't want that. Now, there's far worse things in the game than that, but you definitely don't want it. So if you could hold on to a card who's going to be an emergency leader when you need it, that's what you want to do. Now, the other thing is I have room to hold one more card. So I could, these advisors only help you during the income step. And let's just, to help you out, we're in the draw cards phase. We're then going to do actions, which is where most of the game happens. Then we're going to do rebels and peace, income, and upkeep. Right here is where you collect income, you pay for your advisors, and you collect your monarch power, which includes what the advisors give you. So the reason I'm bringing this up is these advisors don't help us until step 4. Now, I just mentioned that they can get sick and die. So one of the things you got to contemplate is if I play these right away, they could get sick and die before we even get to step 4. That's highly unlikely, but they could at least get sick. Now, one of the ways you can overcome that is we got to look at our event deck, which is over here. Right here, see that symbol? That says the squares are going to get sick when this event is played. Now, I don't know what other events are going to come, but we know that the squares in particular are going to get sick. So if I come back over to my guys, that's a circle, that's a plus, here's a square, and that's a circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this square in my hand and play it later. I don't have to play it now. I'm allowed to keep 4 cards in my hand. So hopefully somebody will take that event, make all the squares get sick, and then I'll play this. And it's a free action to, here's your minor actions that don't take a turn. Appointing an advisor is a free action you get to do. So it doesn't even cost an action. So right now I'm going to spend 3 ducats. So 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to keep a small bank here. In fact, since the money is mine and only mine, I should probably move some of this, a lot of this stuff. What the heck is going on? keeps... anyways. These are a source of tokens, which I do appreciate. But see these... I'm going to hit L. L unlocks something from the board. So you can click and pick it up. So these are the money bags. I'm moving them over to where I am because, and then I'm going to hit L again to lock them. So now you can't pick them up anymore, and then you can just draw the money. So I don't need to necessarily keep the money. It's my own personal bank. Okay, so we are done with the card phase. Now this, where you have to pay 2 ducats per card to keep action cards, that doesn't occur on turn 1. Every turn after this, that is true. You're going to get to draw 3 more cards, like here, and then you get to draw 2. Now this is where we get to pick and replace our missions, and this is where we would have picked these 2 mission cards right here. Okay, so let's get started. The first player is the Ottomans, which are here. So I'm going to swing it around and shuffle the butt real quick. And here we go. The first card is Convert. And then if that can't do anything, it's going to be a Focus War. And it costs 1 cube to do this thing. So we're going to move it to here for now. Convert is like now, so here's the solo and bot rules, which there's a lot here, but here's where it gets into setup, which we talked about. This gets into what do they do during different phases of the game, and we are doing the normal difficulty level. So there's that. And this gives them, like, what do they do, like, at each of the steps in phase 3. Here's what they do in the income step, and then for cleanup. So they do take things, they have this idea concept, we'll get into that. If they have to ever select an opponent, they use this die roll here. So that happens. They, will reshuffle their deck, and I'll get into that later. But now they talk about what do they do during trading, what do they do during warfare, all this stuff, right? But what we're going into is just keep going, is we're here. So I went and just drew a card. But technically what happened is they don't have 0 cubes, so they're not under attack. They have no army on the map. They have 3 or more cubes in a colonist? No. Have they spent more than they have left? No. Is there butt cards left? Yes. And then they drew a card. So that's what I did without showing you the stuff. So what they just drew was Covert. So we got to keep going now. And eventually we get to the covert action. I'm sorry, convert, not covert. I was thinking about spy. Convert. So are there any areas with religious dissent? The answer is yes. But here's the problem for the Ottomans. What does religious dissent mean? So the Ottomans are a Muslim nation, and this is a Muslim territory. So is this. This one is Orthodox, so that is religious dissent. But Constantinople is not owned by the Muslims, or the Ottomans. And same here. There's another one here, but we don't have Tergoviste or Buzau. And then Greece is another, but you got Athena and Morea. So they have territories with religious dissent, but they don't have full control over the territories. Now, Trebizond is another one, and you can see this is diverse faiths, and then that one's Muslim, so they're okay there. So, so the Ottomans have a big mixture of religion going on. Now, why does this matter? Well, the answer is yes, they have religious dissent. Is Catholic and all its areas are Protestant or vice versa? The answer is no, because they're Muslim. All provinces in the descending area is owned by the Butt or by realms with the same state religion. The answer is no, and it says perform the other action. So they only convert if they own all the territory. Keep that in mind. That's how you know to just skip this action for now. Now, the one that I always get caught up on is they have this is what I was thinking was covert, right? Spy action. The unrest action is the one that always gets me. I keep forgetting they can put cores down, but we'll talk about that later. So what they're doing then is they're going to focus war. Now, a focus action is the way they accomplish these milestones is they just do a focus, and then per the Butt rules. So I'm going to go back up to the beginning. It's the difficulty chart. The amount of focus to score a milestone is just 2. So they're going to do a focus, and then after they do a focus a second time in the same area, they're going to actually score that milestone. So they're already halfway there. And if they draw just one more card that's similar to this one, and you can see here, they got the focus war card that we drew. There's another one in the deck. So there is one other card in this 24 card deck that they could draw, and that was also a focus war. And if they do that, then they're going to gain the war milestone and be probably the first to do so. Okay, so the other thing that's weird is halfway into the Butt charts, they put rules. And these rules are, I don't know why they're here and not somewhere else, but these are probably the most important rules to understand when you're managing a Butt. They do have the secondary effects listed here. Most of them are, it always says resolve as normal, blah, blah, blah. But the big thing is when they're doing choices, they follow page 3. They always pick option A when not the active player. They pick the first option and all sub-options. If they're gaining or losing cubes, they would lose their Butt cubes. If they're losing ducats or gaining ducats, they're only going to gain or lose a cube if it's 10 or more ducats. Rounded up. Maximum of 3. If they gain a stability, they would remove unrest. And they gain 2 cubes if there is no unrest. That's something I always forget to do. So hold me to that. If they lose stability, they're always going to gain unrest. If they're gaining or losing a marriage or an alliance, they pick an NPR with the highest gain or lowest base tax possible. So if they're going to gain something, they pick the NPR that's going to have the highest tax base. If they're going to lose something, they pick the lowest tax base one. If they gain a vassal, they just occupy it instead. That's something we covered on setup. They may declare war only if at peace, and if they have more cubes than they spent. So they won't declare war or get sucked into a war that they declare offensively if they're down to a low number of cubes. Let's see. If they do a recruit action, they pay 1 to recruit everything. If they do a trade action, they gain 2. It's interesting because that's written on the charts. If they ever have to exhaust units, they just lose units from their army. If they have to pay X to do Y, they do pay the cost. And then if an event or option has no applicable effects, they just gain 1. And sometimes there is no secondary. But anyways, I went through these with you because these are very important. And also it gives you the full opportunity to say, hey, Jeff, you went through these and now you're forgetting to do it, so you could slam me in the comments later. The hardest part about playing this game is memorizing all this nonsense. Like, we just went through it. It all makes sense. There's nothing about this that's difficult or crazy to understand. The hardest part is bringing it all together and playing the game. And anyways, I know I'm taking a really long time on this one action, but I'm trying to be a little thorough here. So the focus card gets set aside. It is not on the discard. So normally you play a card and then it's discarded. Then at the end of the round, after everybody's passed and we go to set up for the next round, these cards would then get, some of them, maybe even all of them, would get shuffled back into the deck. There's some logic that I haven't gotten into yet. But the focus card is an exception. It does not go in the discard pile. It is permanently out of the rotation for the rest of the age. It does not come back until age 2. Okay? So we got that out of the way. And this cube, instead of going into the spent, it goes on to warfare because of the focus war. So that's how they mark that they're close to getting their milestone. All right, so if they ever get an idea, which they haven't done yet, that's where these little boxes come in. And they don't have any ideas yet, but if they do, they start to move up on these tracks. Okay, so we had mentioned that the other war card is 23. You can actually cheat a little bit and look. 23 hasn't been removed from the deck for them. So it is in their deck somewhere. So that means that they will potentially draw the other one. And if they do, they will complete that milestone. So first person, why is this important? The first person to do a milestone gets 5 points. Excuse me. Okay. Now, when you've played this game for a while, this particular card takes all of 2 seconds to resolve. I spent like 5 minutes on it. But I'm trying to lay out some of the foundations here. Now, I do appreciate that every single bot has their own bot chart next to them. So we get to the next one. And like I said, you go bing, 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 and then they're going to draw a card. So this is France. Oh, and then we didn't do the cuts for France. So I'm going to take those out, and then we're going to cut again. Shuffle, shuffle, and then boom. So they have a similar one. This one is unrest. Now, we had just talked about this, that unrest is, so if they have unrest, this means that the town is in unrest. They have no unrest anywhere on the board. So normally they would not, they would have nothing to do because there's no unrest to deal with. But there is a tricky part with the unrest action where if they have less than 2 cores in play, they can place a core. The answer is yes. So they place a core in an eligible area with the highest total tax value. Now the problem is what does placing a core mean when it says can they place a core? And this is where we have to jump back a little bit. And where would that be? So they only use the numbered claims 1 through 6. When a bot needs to place a claim, there's other limited tokens. Okay, so I may have to look in the real rule book. Give me a second. Okay, so here's what describes what a core province is. So basically it's saying that if it has your realm flag already on it, it's already a core. To add a core token is you're coring other territory or provinces that have a realm flag on it that's not yours. And it'll displace any DNPR or other core tokens that are already there. So in order to do it, you have to have all provinces have to already be owned by you. And then any province that's in that area is considered core once it's placed. So why am I bringing all this up, and what does this matter? It has to do, so we're talking about France here. So everywhere that you see a French token, it's already a core. So if France were to, for example, take over Anjou and Bordeaux, and they control both of these, they could core it. And then by doing so, these ones are already core, but these two would also be added as core. And the biggest thing as far as game is concerned, a core province, if it's ever liberated, will go back to whoever is cored. So if somehow rebels were to take over, or even if somebody else took it over, and then it got liberated, so let's say Spain took it over, but then England liberated it, it would actually go back to France. Unless England was somehow at war with France, then England would take it for itself. Rebels, same concept. If you remove the rebels, it goes back to France. Now, since this is non-core, if you remove the rebels from this, it would go to, theoretically, it goes to Anjou. But if France has ownership of it, they would have their own token there. It's a little tricky, but the biggest in-game benefit to having core is you score points. You just score points. Most of the time, that is the only real value. But yes, technically, the whole liberation concept, it goes to whoever the core nation is. So can France do any coring? No, they can't. So this then is the same concept. It's going to become an eco. And if we flip forward, that was card 20, right? So the other eco card is 16. And you can see here that that's not removed. And yeah, that was card 19. The other one's 23. Yeah. So they're definitely going to possibly be able to do that. So two of them did focus. So now we're rolling along. We go to Spain. And I got to do similar thing. Thank goodness they're all same number of cards. Otherwise, this would have been a nightmare. I'm going to move it over to the right side just to be consistent. So this one's diplomacy. Now on the bottom, you see, if they're at war, they would have done a military action instead. So what they're going to do is they're going to move over 1, 2, 3 cubes. With cost, they're going to do a diplomacy action. And we're going to flip over here to diplomacy, which is very involved. The key thing to understand is they're looking for marriages and alliances first, and then alliances only, and then whether they have 2 cubes. So these 3 things are the primary things. Eventually you get to this umbrella tree that you have here, but a lot of times they're not going to even get to there. So right now, we got to look on the board and see their situation. They have 2 cubes on Aragon. So they're going to do a diplomacy with them and nobody else. They have 1 with Portugal. They have no royal marriages or anything of that nature. But they have 2 cubes with Aragon. So they're going to skip this, and they're going to get here. They have 2 cubes and no alliance in an NPR that's adjacent to the bot, which is what they are. So then we go to here, and this is saying select it with the highest text. It's only if there's more than 1. Now, why does it have that language? Take the example of Austria here. This area has Salzburg. It has München, Landshut, and Regensburg, which is all one nation. I think that's Bavaria, if I remember correctly. Then Augsburg and Ulm. So these are different nations. There's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 nations in this area. And you can tell by the underline, these are capitals. So there's 2 cubes here, right? So it said pick the nation with the highest tax base. So obviously, if it was Austria, they would pick this one. They wouldn't pick this one, or this one. That's what they're trying to get at there. Okay, so pick the highest one, which is going to be Aragon. Is an alliance possible? The answer is yes. So they're going to place an alliance on the capital and add 1 cube if there's space. So we grab an alliance token and place it on their capital. And that says add a cube if there's space. Now we haven't talked about this yet, but there's room for only 5 cubes on any particular area. And if there's already 5 cubes there, then you're stuck. You can't add any more. You can't displace unless you do a covert or a spy type of action. And a royal marriage counts as a bonus cube for purposes of counting cubes. So technically England has 3 influence here, even though there's only 2 cubes. And the royal marriage does not count towards the 5 cubes. So if they did a royal marriage with Aragon, they would have yet another power on that area. But there you go. So they added a cube. If there was space, there was. And then it says end turn. So that's the whole action for them. And this is the first butt, by the way, that actually has a discard. If you'll notice, these guys don't have discards. All right, so now we get to England here. And we're going to go ahead and draw. And they're going to do just like the other ones. They're doing economic. So just like that, 3 of the bots have already covered 3 of the 4 milestones. I mean, the chances of us getting a milestone are like slim to none. Then we said after England, we would do Denmark. So here we go. They're doing a naval. This is actually an interesting one. And I don't have a bot chart here for them. So let's go ahead and clone one. And let's just put one in between that can be used by both of these. I don't think I need 2 of them. So the naval action is here. It says, are there any hostile sea zones adjacent to bots ports on ships? So hostile means they're at war. And the answer is no. Is there any sea zone without bot ships adjacent to their own ports? That's an interesting question. So let's look at that one. So for example, they have a port here in Skagerrak, but they already have a ship there. They got ports here. This is its own area, but all these ports are the same sea zone. And there's a port here. There's one here, but they got one in the North Sea. And they do have Gotland. And see, they have a port which is in the Baltic Sea. So the answer is they have one sea zone that does not have a ship. Any adjacent sea zones without, so we're going to answer yes. So they're going to place a ship in such a sea zone. So we're going to grab one. And you put it over these little shadow spots. If they're over the shadow spots, they are protecting the trade node, from pirates and whatnot. It is possible to not be over a shadow, and that's fine, but you want to take the shadow ones first. Okay, so they place it in the sea zone. Are they adjacent to any pirates? The answer is no. So they're going to draw a trade card, and all bots that are eligible to trade will trade. And the bots gain 3 cubes. Man, I thought it was... Oh, if it's a distant node, which is not the case here, they're going to get 2 cubes if they can trade. And then Every human player can collect trade income. A resolving butt gains 2 points for every human player who collects income. Oh. Hey, Jason, I'm looking at this naval action. The bots only gain 2 points for a trade if human players collect income. They don't get 2 points if another bot gets cubes.
Yeah, but I think they need points.
I agree. I think it's better to just give them. So I'm talking with my son here. We were playing where we gave 2 points anytime anybody used the trade action, and we both agree that you should give the bots the points. The bots are not going to win if you don't. I mean, they cheat a lot, and sometimes it's frustrating how much they cheat. But when it comes to points, they don't do very well. Now, it is possible, because we're playing major nations. So, as a human player playing a major nation, it might just simply be easier to score points because of how large of a nation we're playing. If I'm playing Ohm, for example, maybe what I'm trying to say now is not as true. But if you're playing a major nation like France or England or Austria, they don't score enough. Not to say that they don't cheat enough, because they cheat too much. But in terms of like actual point scoring opportunities, they tend to fall behind. But I can see, like, if I'm playing a much smaller nation, that maybe. So, anyways, what I'm trying to say is, per the rules as written, they only gain 2 points if a human player collects income.
They don't have missions, so they need something to get points.
Because they don't have missions. And it does say here in a subnote, if playing without missions for human players, then the bots don't score at all. So they're only scoring because we're playing with missions. And that's interesting. And then they do get their income reduced by 1 if there's a pirate node. But this I never see happen, because they do remove pirates. And if they remove pirates, they don't draw a trade card. As you can see, they only draw a trade card if there's no pirates to remove. So, actually, there could be pirates somewhere else. Yeah, never mind. Anyways, I'm overthinking this. The point I'm trying to get is, I'm going to play where they score 2 points if anybody uses the trade card, including other bots. But that is not the rules as written. So I want to make that clear. Okay, so what they do then is they come over here and they draw from. I almost drew from the wrong deck. I'm going to turn that over. They draw from this deck. And these we need to move out of the way. So they draw from this deck just one card. We draw more than one, but they only draw one. And so these 3 trade nodes are now available, and any bot that can use them will. So the first one is Lubeck, which is actually themselves. So they're going to just gain 2 cubes. And how do I know this? Lubeck right here. And they have a merchant there, and they have adjacency to the trade node with their ships. Nobody else is at Lubeck. The next one is Bordeaux. So Bordeaux is here. It's a C one. And England, France, and Spain all have adjacency to Bordeaux. So all 3 of them are going to trade. I don't know why these are falling over. Okay, so first up is England, then France, Spain. And then, oh, this is interesting. I don't have score tokens for them. Oh, that's where I'm going to use. I'm going to use this as his score token. So he scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Man, that's really hard to see with the brown on brown, but the little slashes helps. And then we have similar concept for these guys. I just put it on the board. I didn't even. Oh, they don't have. Where's. Oh, the plot thickens. Where are you? I'm betting it's in here somewhere. Right there it is. So that was just weird because it's brown. That's easier to see. We're going to use that. Okay, we're not done. Those three happen. And then we have Astrakhan. And then in the little tiny, we have Kazan. Now, what does the parentheses mean? So normally when it's human players, you add up your trade power, which is, do you control these cities? Yes. Do you have merchants next to them or ships? Yes. You add up your trade power and see, you could, like if you have 6 or more trade power, you're going to make 7 ducats, this green number. You make 9 if it's an expanded trade node, which none of them are expanded right now. So you get 7 ducats, right? And if you had 6 or more power. The Astrakhan is exactly that situation. However, if you want to use Kazan, which is below it, instead, you can, but that doesn't matter what your trade power is, you get the bottom row. That's the best you can do, is the bottom row. Also, when human players are using these cards, only one human player can get the top 2 rows. So if there's 2 human players with 6 or more, only one of them gets the top row, and it's the one who has the most trade power. So somebody could get bumped down, even if they have enough power. That's only really going to happen between France, England, and Spain. I very rarely see these kind of conflicts anywhere else. But when you're dealing with bots, none of it matters. That's only for player versus player. Now, for bot purposes, they use either Astrakhan or Kazan, and then we as a human can as well. Now, neither of these are helpful to us as Austria. So, but let's talk about Astrakhan is this one, and Kazan is this one. Now, theoretically, he can move to Kazan, and so the Russian bot can get the credit. So he will take 2 cubes. And how do I know this? Kazan is one of their merchants. But actually, let's think about this. It is one of their merchants, yes, but they don't have a presence next to the trade node. So I'm going to take that back. The human player would have started with a merchant here, and the Kazan trade node, if it's one of the primary ones, could count like cities that are over here. So you would actually have trade power. But for the purpose of the bot, they have to actually be next to the trade node, which is Kazan itself. So they don't have that. So I'm going to take that back. It's like the Goonies movie. I'm taking it back. Taking it all back. So they're not going to use it. So that's it. And we didn't get diddly squat from it. All right, so that was Denmark. Then we're going to keep going, and now it's our turn. We finally get to go. And we have all these actions to choose from. The world's our oyster. The free ones are, I can always take a loan, which is 5 ducats. I can appoint a leader advisor like we talked about. I can call to arms, which is basically just calling allies to join us. I can replenish manpower, always a free thing to do. I mean, it costs me cubes, but it's a free in terms of my turn. And cut and ties is I can disband alliances. Now, I do have defend the empire, which means I do intend to go to war and liberate some empire stuff. And I also have decline of Hungary, where I need a tax base of 11 or more ducats. So the way I do that is to subjugate and take over other nations. Now, the subjugate card, the way it works is I discard influence from an NPR or a vassal equal to their tax base. And then I would vassalize them if they're an NPR, or if they're already a vassal, I would annex them. However, there's one little caveat. It says annex your vassal or a 1 tax ally. So, first of all, they need to be your ally to vassalize them. And if they're a 1 tax ally, you could just straight up, you could skip the vassalize step and just annex them directly. And if you have a royal marriage, your base tax has to be greater than theirs. Without a royal marriage, you have to have double theirs. With a 1 tax province, that's pretty easy to do. So why am I bringing all this up? Well, we have this 2 cube situation. So, like, if I want to annex these guys, I would have to vassalize them first. Well, first I have to ally with them, then vassalize them, then annex them. It's a 3-step process. This one, I would only need to ally with them, and then I can annex them. I can skip the vassalize part because it's a 1 tax province. Some of the reason why I'm focusing on this is I would like to connect my empire, right? I got all these cities here, and I have this one over here. Now, there's more things we can annex or whatever, and some of these larger cities are more juicy, but that's a 2 tax. So again, I would have to vassalize first. I do have some presence down here with Venice, so they're a problem child. I would prefer to do that instead of going to war. Now, why is that? Well, I brought over here the rule book and I put it on this page. So I can just straight up spend coins or spend Diplo or, yeah, Diplo. No, admin to gain +1 imperial power. I can win a war against a non-HRE aggressor. So that means somebody else declared war on us. I can reincorporate an HRE area, which I don't even remember how to do that. I think that requires something, might be an event. If I'm below 3 upon election, which is not a thing right now, I can refuse a call to arm to lose one. If an area leaves, I lose. I lose a war. If I declare war on an HRE member without having a casus belli, so that's a big one. If I enforce full annexation on an HRE member of the state religion, same state religion. So if I were to conquer someone and then annex them and they're an HRE member, I actually lose authority. And if the number of elector areas falls below 1, or by the current amount, I lose 1 per step. So this is very, very important for me to keep in mind. So I need to diplomatically influence these. There's no harm in diplomatically taking things over, but through war, like I could go to war with Venice because look, the HRE goes right around Venice here. So I can take Venice no problem. They're not an HRE member. Now you could argue, hey, what about Brescia here? That is actually one of the situations where Brescia is a they violated the imperial. What's the word I'm looking for? So they're an unlawful province occupant. So Venice is one of those unlawful ones. So I could go to war with Venice, and here you can see the unlawful ones is Burgundy, Venice, and Denmark. It straight up tells you. And I think we talked about this during the setup, but Venice is one, Burgundy because of this Franche Comté, and then right here, the Denmark. So everybody else is happily within the HRE, but those three are, I could declare war on any of those. So I have a permanent liberation casus belli on page 22. If an area in its entirety leaves the HRE, I'm no longer considered part of the HRE, we lose the liberation. Unlawful occupants, yeah. So if somebody were to declare war, then I get to call to arms those nations, and that's when I get to use the I have the 4 mercenaries that are available. I do get extra manpower, and so you can see there's if all the HRE provinces are owned by an external realm, that area will automatically leave the HRE. And then we put a not HRE token in the area, and then I lose an imperial authority. An area that has left the HRE will immediately be reincorporated if all the provinces are located inside the HRE border are once again owned by HRE members. So this is where it gets crazy. If an emperor doesn't have a casus belli and they declare war, they lose authority. If I enforce full annexation, I also lose authority. So declaring war on HRE members is a no bueno thing for me. Official is Catholicism. HRE's religion cannot change until age 3. And it's checked at the end of each round. We're not going to worry about it. We got to wait until age 3 for this to happen. And then, of course, if there's an NPR emperor, they get some basic rules here. If the emperor has 4 or more, or less when their current... If the emperor has 4 or less when their current ruler is replaced, an election is held. The player realm that received the votes from the most elector areas becomes the new emperor. The player realm that has the most cubes, influence cubes, an elector area receives the vote from that area. Right now, I'm the only one. So a bot would have to start putting cubes in my area for that to even be an issue. But if you had like a Saxony bot in the game alongside Austria, that's where it would get interesting, because Saxony's putting out cubes just like you are. So that would change how electors work. So anyways, that's it for us here. And I'm going to bring this back because I need this chart. That's the whole reason why I put that there. So I'm going to So we're getting to our actions here. I want to forge an alliance. The cost is half the target's income. And both the PR and NPR must be at peace. And I need at least 2 cubes in the area. No. I really appreciate that they list that. But then there's always sometimes details in the rules that you need to know above and beyond. And that's where the player aid falls apart. So I'm going to... so we got... so these are the actions here. And I'm jumping to... like, so this is the administrative actions. The diplomatic. So this is saying the same thing. Both need to be at peace. Need to have at least 2. If they're allied to an opponent, you need to have more cubes than the opponent. And you need to have a claim on one of their areas if it's going to be a distant NPR. All right, well, we're good. We're good. So that extra information that was not on the player aid wasn't relevant to us. So we got 2 cubes on here, and I want to form an alliance with Bavaria because I want to get into the business of vassalizing and annexing here. So actually I gotta think about this because I may want to do something with Hungary. Now, if I form an alliance with them, this is a lot more different because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it only 7 tax base? I'm sorry, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 8 tax base. Now, if you're ever wondering, oh, they don't even have that in the game. Maybe it's on. Nope. So on the back of the scenario book, right here. So if you look up Hungary, I don't know why I'm not seeing it. There's Lithuania. Maybe they're not considered Eastern Europe. Oh, here they are. So it tells you that their tax base is 8 ducats. So you can always look it up here on this chart. So at 8 ducats, and then they have vassals. That's the issue. So Zagreb and Rijeka, those are both vassals. So it's technically it's 8, and then these count as half. So that would be 9. So their tax base is 9. And again, why is this important? If you want to forge an alliance, the Diplo cost is half their target income. It's always round up in this game. And the max is 3 cubes. Well, at 9, half of that is 4.5, which is rounded up to 5. I'd have to spend 5 cubes to forge an alliance with Hungary. That would be no bueno for me, so I can't do that. I think I'm going to go back to my original plan of Bavaria here, because half of that is 2. So I will spend 2 cubes. And then grab an alliance and form an alliance with Bavaria. Is it the best move in the world? I don't know. Neither of these are helping me with my mission. But I do have a subjugate card, and I would like to try to use it. Okay, so next up after them is Poland. And we got to do the cut. And same here. First card. Man, oh man. Everybody's focusing. And then last but not least is Russia. They're doing diplomacy. Now, diplomacy is interesting, especially for Russia. So do they have a marriage? They don't have an alliance with anybody. They might have the 2 cubes. So let's go check that out. For example, they have 2 cubes here, and they have marriages with both of these. So they would get to here and select. They both had the same tax base. So then they select whoever's highest in alphabetical order, which would be the O. So what do you have? And they're going to form an alliance and then put another cube. So alliance and a cube. And then they're done. And that costs them, 3 cubes. All right, so we just went around one time. Now we keep going until everybody passes. And yeah, that's the game. See, simple, easy peasy, right? So now we go back to the Ottomans who are here. And they're going to, technically we go, bing, 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 bing. They're still going to draw cards. The only thing right now, unless they're at war, you skip half of this, right? This first one is they have no cubes at all left. That's not the situation. This is if they're under attack. This is if they can siege, because again, they're at war. This is colonization, which they can't do. They have no colonists. This is the biggest thing to look for. Have they spent more cubes than they have left? And right now, they spent 0, because this is not considered a spent cube. So they're going to go ahead and draw another card. And they're doing another focus action. But this time, it's politics. And the one thing I always forget is, see this, they discard a Diplo card. And so I got to go over here, and this card gets discarded. Why is this important? Some actions let you look through the discard pile and grab cards. And I got to make sure that nobody else had that symbol on their card. They did not. That was the first one, I think. So the Ottomans have done nothing but focusing. So now we go to France. So they have a Papal Curia action, which is going to cost them 2 cubes. And they also discard an admin card, which this one is an exceptional year. All right, so Papal Curia is a pretty simple action, but let's go through it. So are they Catholic? Yes. Are they the uncontested controller? No. Is the Papal controller in age 1 or 2? And can use excommunication to remove well, they're not the Papal controller, and they can't use excommunication, so no. So they're going to place their cube in the number 1 slot of the Papal Curia. If now Papal controller, they're going to remove excommunication on own realm, if any. Yeah. So basically, they're just going to take a cube from here, and they go to the Papal controller board, which is here. And what it's saying is they're going to put their cube in the 1 location, which is this one, right? And what that does is place a new in one slot and slide the others to the right and remove the rightmost. So everything moves to the right. And so now France has become the papal controller. They have the most cubes on here. And even if they didn't, they have the leftmost one. So currently that doesn't mean much, but they do have these 2 extra actions. And what it was saying is if France was excommunicated, they could remove the excommunication now that they're controlling the Pope. And then this cube goes back to Denmark because they got booted. All right, so that was the whole action there. Now we go to Spain. Technically Castile. They're doing 2 cubes. They're causing a Diplo card to get discarded. Man, I gotta remember where these cards are. So that one was Study Technology. And they're doing Diplomacy. Now, we've done this before with them. In fact, it's still open. So they created an alliance with Aragon. So they now have an alliance with an adjacent bot. So do they have double the tax base of that bot? And I think the answer is no. So their tax base currently is 6 plus 6 is 12. So they have a good solid tax base. But for Aragon, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the question is, do they have double? And of course the answer is no. Can they enter a royal marriage? And I think the answer is yes. So they're going to select such an NPR and then roll a die. They rolled a 2. So they're not doing a royal marriage. Instead, they're going to put 2 cubes in areas where no cube has been placed this turn. So these are influence cubes. They get to put them in any area. So, for example, they can put them here. They could put it here. And then it says, are they at peace and have 6 or more cubes left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They do. So now they're going to go to the diplomatic chart and roll against that. So they rolled a 6. So they roll, and they rolled Portugal. So with Portugal, are there any free space? Yes, there's free space. They have cubes less than the target's tax base. Portugal was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yes, they only have 1. So they're going to spend 2 and add 2 cubes to that as well. That's an interesting one. I would never spend 2 cubes if I were them, but they just did. And so they just added 2 influence. So this is full. There's a full 5 cubes on this one. All right, so that was Spain. And next we have is England. They get the Papal Curia as well. They're going to cause this card to be another exceptional year. I swear I'm going to draw one more. Yeah, we shuffled. Okay, so they do the similar thing. They're going to come up here to this. These are all moving down. It comes off. So now England's papal controller, and Poland loses theirs. Next up is Denmark. they're going to do diplomacy. They're going to cause a diplo to be discarded. The thing everybody's looking for is the subjugate cards. Hardly anything else matters. But the subjugate, some of these matter because sometimes people want specific admin cards, but the subjugate cards are the big ones. Okay, so we spent 2 cubes, and now they got to do their diplomacy. So again, they're looking for marriage and alliance. And this is Denmark, mind you. They have that with 2 different nations. Sweden is the larger tax base, so they're probably going to select Sweden. But let's go ahead and look. They have 2 to an adjacent box. Yes. Do they have a higher tax base? That's a great question. Their tax base is 5 plus 4 is 9. And then Sweden, well, this is what I was looking for right here. There we go. I was looking for this right here. This says everybody. Sweden has a tax base of 7. You can see right there. So 9 is greater than 7, but it's not double. Where are we at here? But they are higher, yes. Do they have cubes greater than the tax base on the NPR areas? No. They would need to have 9 cubes. They don't. They have like 2. So then the answer is no. So they're going to select the highest base tax, which is Sweden. Now, actually, the good question is, do they have more than Normandy? Or not Normandy, Norway. Sorry for the horrible. So Norway is 4. Norway has 4 cubes. So they actually are going to select Norway because the answer is yes. If you'll notice, they don't ask you to select the highest tax base until after you answer this yes or no question. So the answer is yes to Norway. So they're going to annex Norway, remove the cubes, and score 3 points. Jeez Louise, that's huge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me. So these go away. These go away. Then 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, a key thing to understand, it's not that easy for a human player to do that. Only the bots cheat like this. And what's crazy is they just scored 3 more points. Right, so marriage goes back, alliance goes back, 4 cubes. And that's it. They're done. Or at least I think they are. They did this. Now they own all provinces in a new area. Then they will spend 1 to place a core in that area. So spend 1. And then the claim tokens, you got to grab the ones that say claim 7 and 8. Because the other ones they use dice rolls for. And we flip it over to the core side. And yeah, they just cored this area. It says do this in such an area. They just literally annexed 3 areas. Okay. They are done. Now it is our turn. So we could do the subjugate, which would then add some vassals, which would let us place some vassal tokens. I mean, that was the plan, right? To get the alliance going and then to subjugate them. But the problem is I want the card back. To get the card back, I have to discard 2 other cards, which these 2 are good candidates. Actually, this one and this one. Well, actually, I should have considered this one. Look here, new alliance. Move any 2 from the NPR. Add 2 of your own. If we're both at peace and you have the most cube in their areas, you gain an alliance with the target. This is amazing for Hungary. I don't have 4 left anymore. Oh man, that was actually a better move. To do the alliance with Hungary instead of... Because right now we have a royal marriage with them and that's it. I'm going to retcon, if that's okay. So this is last turn. We spent 2 cubes to do that last action. I'm going to spend 4 cubes to play this card. Get to remove 2 cubes from them, add 2 of my own. So I'm going to add 2 of my own. I'm going to remove this cube and this cube. So let's see, where's the Ottomans? Then we're going to remove the Polish cube. And then yes, I have the most cubes there. So I'm going to form an alliance with them. Oh, and that cost me 2 ducats. All right, that would have been the last action, last turn. So now it's our turn this time. Can I subjugate them? I have a marriage, so my base tax has to be greater than theirs. My base tax is 9, and I think we established that theirs is 9 as well. This is a much better one. So we're looking at Hungary here. Theirs is 8. And then we said 9 because of the vassals. So I do need one more tax. If I can get 1 vassal out, that gives me the 1 more. That is my problem. So by doing what I did, if I would have just vassalized these guys, I would have had the strength I was looking for. The other thing I can do is just go to war. And get my... It's going to take me a few rounds, but I can get my tax income that way. And if I liberate this from Venice, I gain an imperial authority. The problem with Venice is I can't take the capital. Well, actually I can. I have a ship. The other problem with Venice is they have territory down here. That's really hard for me to take. So I couldn't ever fully annex them. What I can do is at least get this territory from them and maybe even take these 2. If I don't fully control them, I have to give them their capital back. But I can argue to keep the territory I did take. Now for Burgundy, this is only challenging because they have their capital here. This is the one I need from them. But then I got to go take these other annoying ones over here. It's a more, I got to move a lot and spend a lot of cubes to take all that. It's a lot to take. And then, of course, Norway has a massive area. I'm sorry, Denmark. Now, what's interesting about them is they don't get their extra manpower for annexing Norway until next round. So if I attack them now, they only have 5 manpower. So I could kick them out of Holstein and actually take this territory and put a town all the way up here. The problem is it's just so far away. I got to spend 2 cubes just to move up there. That's the challenge I have. So Venice is the simplest one to try to take. That kind of cost me 2, 3, 4. I mean, it cost me 5 cubes. I don't have enough cubes to do the war. That's my problem. You don't start the game very powerful, that's for sure. I can add 2 cubes to any area matching a religion and gain. I mean, I could do this. Don't know what good that does me. I have to spend a cube just to recruit my armies. My armies started where, by the way? They're not on the map yet. So right here, to do a recruit, it's going to cost me 1 cube, and then I have to spend money to recruit. Increasing stability is gargantuan. How do I get my 1 tax base? I mean, I do have to declare war. The problem is the ones I want to declare war on are too large for the number of cubes. If I declare war on somebody within the HRE, I create problems for myself. So I would need like a 1 province nation that's outside of the HRE. Oh, there's another Venice there, like Ragusa. So I could declare war on Ragusa, take it. Or Bosnia here. It's a 2 province nation. I could, but see, I don't have a casus belli against them. I have casus bellis. Yeah, this is where the problems come in. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's going to cost me 12 ducats. I have 5. I only have 10 ducats. I can get 5 of these troops in my army. I need to get to 11. I'm at 9. Okay, I'm going to spend a cube and my 10 ducats. Come on, dude. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I do have an army out. It's right there. There we go. Okay. Poland's next. They're going to focus politics. Mr. Muscovy. They're going to focus war. All right, so we're moving on to the next round. Or not round, but we're going to keep going. So now it's back to the Ottomans. They're still going to draw a card. They don't have any unrest, so they're going to do a spy action. And that's going to cost them 2 cubes. Now, when a bot is doing a action against somebody else, they roll a die, and they're going to choose whoever has the highest points or whoever has the highest tax income. So, for example, this is a 15 tax income. France is a 16. I'm pretty sure France has this beat. That's 12. That's also 16. And then Denmark has the highest points. Okay, so why did we say all this? Well, because now we're doing the spy action. Are they at war? No. No. They're going to select an opponent. That's why. I'm going to roll that again. So I rolled a 3. And I can't remember. They're doing the highest points, so that makes it easy. It's Denmark. So let's go back to the spy action. So they're going to add 2 unrest to their towns and then end turn. Now, when selecting towns, they always select the highest tax. So they're going to flip the 2 big towns for unrest, and that's what they did with their spy action. They messed with the player winning the game. All right, next up is France. Doing a military action. They're going to discard this card. All right, so the military action is not as straightforward as you think. The first thing they're going to do is we need to see there's a claim here, claim 2 and claim 1. They're going to roll and see if they're going to trigger those claims. And I can help you here. Military. Are they at war? No. Do they have claims? Yes. They're going to roll a die and see if it matches the claim number. It was not a 1 or a 2. So it doesn't match. So then, are they adjacent to a power struggle location? And that actually reminds me of something we didn't set up properly. So they want the Italian Wars, Balkans 30 years, Succession 7 years, and Napoleonic. So sometimes this helps to have this in view. So they want the Italian Wars. How do I do this? No. We'll just do it like this. Struggle for the bulk. Well, let's do it from the bottom. They want Napoleonic Wars. Then they want 7 years. Then they want War of Spanish Succession. 30 years. Struggle for the Balkans. and then this one. Okay. I gotta zoom out a little bit. So these are the ones that are in the game. These are out of the game. These came with the expansion, and you can always mess with these and create your own. They add tension to the game. These are all optional rule things. So this one here, your active power struggle is going to get scored in the income and upkeep phase. But we know this one's coming. So we're allowed to see that that's the next one. And arguably, we should be able to put these out because we want to create the tension now. So I'm just going to bring this card down here. So Flanders and Wallonia. Rhineland. Burgundy. Lombardy. Central Italy. Venetia. This is another reason to declare war. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clone this, and then Naples. All right, so if the Papal Controller, you score 2 points. If France, Castile, or Austria has towns in fewer than 2 of these areas, they're going to lose 3 points. So it's a prevent yourself from losing points. It is not active yet. When it becomes active, which won't happen until age 2, then it'll score at the end of the round that it becomes active. So in the meantime, we just know this is coming. And the whole reason for all this is we're doing the military step. And the question was, are they adjacent to one of those tokens? And the answer is yes. So they're going to put a claim there. And then select the realm for which this claim is valid. There's more steps, but let's get the claim out first. So I got 2 realms. I got Flanders and Wallonia, and they also have Burgundy. And you can argue this is 3 techs here. That's also 3, right? So they're both the same tax base. Then it chooses alphabetic order. So it's going to put a claim here for Burgundy. But we're not done because they cheat. So not only did they put a claim, but then they're saying target is eligible and they have less than 4 cubes in the areas if it's an NPR. They do have less than 4. They have 1. Is the target strength greater than double the bot strength? The answer is no. So they're going to declare war and spend 1 cube to recruit 9 units. It's always 9 for us. So they do need to recruit 4. So they'll spend 1 cube to do that. And yes, they're declaring war. This army is not placed yet, but it keeps going. Does the bot have allies? No. Did the target have a defensive CTA? It says NPRs always do. Well, it just means that they're going to call defensive C. There's nothing. Remove all bots cubes from the areas. Does it trigger a naval battle? No, because Burgundy doesn't have any ports. Actually, technically it does, right here. But there's no naval battle with France. Does it trigger a land battle? No, there's no French troops on the board. The Burgundy is considered to always have troops. And is the army size greater than double the target strength? Yes. Is the army on the map board? No. Place the army on the map board. Does it trigger a battle? No. Are they host 1 or 2 spaces away? Yes. They're going to move and engage and do a land battle. So all this stuff happens. And for us, this would take like 4 turns to do. So they're coming on here and they're seeing that they're 2 spaces away. So they're going to move over here and they're going to trigger a battle. Now, battle versus bots is different than NPRs, and it's different than players. So it's a little bizarre. And I tried to make a little spreadsheet to cover this because the rulebook is insane with how it covers this. So let me pause and get that pulled up. Okay, so I don't have the spreadsheet to show you yet, but basically the NPRs have a 2 + 1, 3 armies. And when a bot is battling the NPR, you just roll 3 dice and that's it. So 1, 2, 3. You take those, you roll them. And then anywhere that you see an infantry is a hit. So France loses 1, and then they gain a cube because they won a combat. That's just a combat rule. It applies to us as well. So they've won their combat, and Burgundy's fully defeated. So then, at least in this area, there's Burgundy troops over here as well. Now, France will then siege this down on their turn. So I got to end the video here. So it'll be Castile's turn when I get back. And give me a second. Well, here, I'm just going to use the Joker card to show that he's going to be next. There we go. Thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.